I am the economic ninja, and I'm going to talk about something that, quite frankly, I don't want to talk about. But I'm starting to see some things going on the internet, and something that is going to hurt a lot of people that honestly mean well, but they're searching for answers. And I'm going to give you a take of the Maui fires from literally an expert. Now, I don't like calling myself that, but here is the truth. I have been a full time firefighter for 23 years. Before that, 3.5 years as a reserve firefighter. Every single year, I have fought wildland fires in the state of California. I have had the honor of fighting next to some amazing people. And I'm going to tell you some stories from some of those fires, even one that involves the President of the United States in my engine. And I'm going to talk about this Maui fire because a conspiracy theory is being thrown out that you need to understand is very serious because it is one that has been put out on purpose to make good intentioning, good hearted people look like fools. There's a couple of those that were put out by some 3-letter agencies a while ago, and in order to completely deceive you. And the narratives are very, very strong, and they're very hard to not believe, quite frankly, but that is why they were put out there. And so, where do we start? Let me start by saying this. There are people that are saying that these fires were set intentionally, and I'm going to tell you some stories that prove otherwise. This fire started at 6:37 a.m. near the Lahaina Intermediate School. The first call for evacuation happened within 3 minutes of the first responding rigs getting on scene. That is exceptionally fast. I will tell you that from experience. Oh, I should probably tell you my experience. So, besides being a full time firefighter, I have trained literally hundreds and hundreds of firefighters. I have written my own courses on wildland firefighting, structure firefighting. I have actually even gotten one of my courses uh, accredited through a college in California. I serve in not only as a firefighter, as uh, a firing boss. I also hold ranks in logistics and in planning. I also, the last large campaign fire, I was the third in command of a fire that was a Type 3 incident as the safety officer. So I was third in command as a safety officer of a Type 3 incident with about 1,000 firefighters up in Yosemite when most of Yosemite burnt. The last handful of years, I have not gone off my area, out of my general area, because just life has been busy with business. So the other guys at the station go, and every once in a while I cover with backfill in the fire station. So that's my background. Now, a lot of people, and I come across this all of the time, and please, if you're a firefighter, chime in right now in the comment section, hashtag firefighter, and start fill in the gaps that I leave. People are absolutely blown away with how fire moves, and I will tell you this from experience. I remember being a probationary firefighter, actually in fire academy, and my professor walks up with a little petri dish of gasoline. He made sure everybody passed around to smell it. That was gasoline. He lit up a cigarette in class. California, that's definitely a no-no, but he wanted to prove a point. And he grabbed that cigarette and he got that cherry as red as it could be, so it started sucking in. And right in front of us, he took that gasoline and literally we gasped. Some guys yelled, some tried to swat it, and he was far enough away because he knew what we would do. And he put that cigarette out in that little petri dish of gasoline. And that day, from that day on, I learned something very valuable. That fire isn't exactly what you think, and how it travels is completely different than what you would expect. I have seen a fire that we have put out because right now a lot of people are blaming the fire crews, and you need to seriously step down because those guys are going through a lot, I bet. Can't even imagine a rekindle. I've had so many rekindles in my career where we just hydro mopped that thing. And I remember coming back to a fire a day later, and we found the root from an old oak tree that had been dead for a long time was cooking underneath the road, a 2-lane road. And that tree that we had extinguished, we couldn't extinguish the root that was under the ground by about a foot. And over the course of a day, That fire literally traveled through that root system, just smoldering and baking, trying to consume whatever fuel it had. Since it was rotted, it had enough oxygen in that thing because the wood had shrunk, so that gap was in there just to keep it going until it came out the other side of that road and lit the fire. Luckily, no structures were lost, nobody was hurt. But I've seen fire move in ways that would just blow your mind. And there are people that are blaming these firefighters for not doing a proper job or not staying with the fire. And I'll be honest with you, if people only knew how the fire service worked and how low on resources the state of Maui is, but really it's not any different than anywhere else, except for it doesn't have the privilege. Because like I go to fires in Los Angeles County and Los Angeles City are massive fire departments. But when there's a fire, what happens? They call us. Why? Because they still have to take on the load of their city and their county. So they call everyone in the state, and whoever can go, go. And trust me, it is exciting to get a call in the middle of the night. You're going to San Francisco. I've driven Code 3 over the Golden Gate Bridge. I've driven Code 3 down through the Wild Animal Park in San Diego, while fire is literally ripping through the Wild Animal Park and trying to get animals out of the way, giraffes and all kinds of animals. Maui doesn't have that. And there was not enough rigs that could have been on that fire that day because of the way the winds moved to stop what was coming. Now in Maui, the construction there is definitely different than it is in San Diego, California. But I'm going to give you a story. I was on a fire called the Witch Fire. And it was an evil fire. I remember that was one of the nights I thought I was going to die. And we drove 5 engines to the city of Julian, California. We meet with the fire chief. He has a map and he just sets it down. He goes, my guys are gone. They started fighting the fire 2 cities away and they haven't come back. And now my city's on fire and you're it. 5 engines. And we're like, where do you want us to start? And he goes, take these 300 homes. These are probably the most defendable. These were mansions. And this wasn't a decision based on how expensive the house was. There was a firestorm that was rolling that I couldn't even describe as we were driving down the highway, because at that point during the Witch Fire, almost all of San Diego was on fire. I remember seeing 200 apartment complexes where tankers are coming up the side of the hill and hitting it sideways, trying to splatter the retardant on the side of the structure to put it out. I remember CHP officers driving by my engine at about 140, 150 miles an hour to get down there from Sacramento. It actually shook my fire engine. I was on I-5. We were going about 73 miles an hour, as fast as my engine could go. He gave us those 300 homes because we determined, and we agreed with him, that was the most defensible space, the fewest amount of vegetation patches, well-manicured lawns, huge homes. I was awake for 66, 67 hours on that fire. We only stayed up the last 5 because the president wanted to meet with us. We only saved 6 or 7 homes. Why? We had no water. The water system in the city went down. And all we could do was try and save people and get them away from their burning house. And it was crazy. I can't imagine what those firefighters are going through right now, feeling like they couldn't protect their own city. And there are a bunch of people out there that are spreading some very serious stuff. Now I'm going to talk about why you probably thought I did this video is about lasers. And I'm going to tell you, I do know a lot of stuff about this laser stuff. Do we have lasers that can start fires? Absolutely. I could buy them at the store, actually. I've actually taken one and pointed it at dry vegetation from about 4 feet away, and a laser beam starts fire. It only cost me about 50, 60 bucks. I do not approve of that kind of behavior, but we can do it because we start fires intentionally for fuels mitigation, and in time of emergency, it's called firing out or burning out around structures to save them. But there's conspiracy theories around here that there are space weapons, that the government's doing this intentionally. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have watched fires start from just the slap during a wind event of two power wires and a spark that goes down. I have seen 100 fires start on almost a 50-mile stretch of road from a tiny chain link dragging on a trailer. And I was on a hillside and I had 5 fires I had to be in charge of. And as far as the eye can see, both north and south on the 101 highway, California, I saw probably 60 columns of smoke. It's the most incredible thing ever. And I absolutely do not believe that the government has weapons. Do I believe they have lasers that could do this? Yeah, yeah. They tell us all the time they're using lasers to do all kinds of crazy things. As a matter of fact, one of the colleges near where I live, I know somebody that graduated from there and went on to work for JDS Uniphase, a laser company that was a massive booming stock in the 1990s. And it's because he invented a laser that was so powerful that JDS Uniphase not only bought it from him for well over 6 figures, but actually employed him at their company. And that was back in the 90s. Yes, I know that they have these weapons. Do I believe they're doing this on purpose? Absolutely not. Do I believe the state was not prepared for this? Honestly, no one was prepared. No one was prepared in San Diego. We lost literally, I want to say over 10,000. It was like in the thousands and thousands of homes in San Diego. And that was with the largest firefighting force in the country trying to put it out. We couldn't stop it. There are a lot of people pointing fingers, and I'm going to tell you what this exactly comes down to it. And all the firefighters in the comment section will be able to agree with me. Every single person that has ever lost a home or a loved one in a fire has the exact same expression or the exact same statement when they're able to calm down is, I never thought it would happen to me. You know, I've been sitting here on YouTube trying to warn everyone about an economic collapse. And this channel has grown more than I could even fathom. As ambitious as I am, I still am blown away by your comments and your sincerity. And there are a lot of people getting ready for this, but I'm telling you what, the people that aren't, you better wake up, because there's a firestorm coming to your bank account soon. There's a firestorm and other things. Use these examples, and my heart goes out to the people. My heart, the people that have to search right now for the victims. It is the worst job, one of the worst jobs you could ever have. And the last thing we need is a bunch of people that mean well and they want to share truth and spread information, truth, because that is the most important thing we need right now. We need the truth in life. Every single person in this room was affected by COVID in one way or another. I don't care if you sat around and gone, well, I ain't wearing a mask. I get it, but your life was changed forever. I told that to my guys a year before it came. Some of us knew it. And everyone's lives are about to be changed during phase 2, and that's an economic collapse. But yet there are people that would believe that the government is busy firing lasers down to start fires when they don't believe that the government has run away with the money printing scheme and you're about to experience the hyperinflation that you just never thought possible. And it's going to be like a fire in your bank account. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Think about this. You get on scene of a fire, and from the literally now thousands of vegetation fires that I've been on in my career, no, not thousands. Let's say high hundreds, thousands, right? 1,000. 3 minutes is a very, very quick decision to evacuate people. Evacuation takes on, it's a whole new animal in emergency operations. It takes a lot of people to properly evacuate an area, and we don't take it lightly. But the truth is, everyone, and the firefighters are going to be able to tell you right now, and the cops are going to be able to tell you too. People don't leave. They don't want to leave. They want to protect their home. And in that city of Julian, I remember a lady, she was in her early 80s, and she had half of her face was melted, and her hair was half of her hair was gone, and her skin was just sort of sloughing on this side. And I remember the house. It was a beautiful home. A quarter of it was on fire, and it was the logs, the wood logs that they put up against the house that were on fire. And she's sitting there trying to offload them, and she is in a white nightgown. That fire moved so fast that she was going to bed. And by about midnight, I see her in a white nightgown, half of her face burnt. And I grab her. I'm like, man, we've got to go now. And she goes, no, my home. And I grab her. I'm like, your home doesn't matter because you're not going to live through the night. And she looked at me and I said, the home's going to go. We'll do everything we can. But do you want to live to see tomorrow? And I remember we got her and her husband away from the house, got them into a fire rig, and headed down the hill. And that was actually one of the ones that we were able to save. It still had about a quarter of it gone, but she was going to die for her home because she didn't believe that she was going to die for her home. And in very densely populated areas, there are people that live the paradise life, just like they did in Julian, just like they did in Maui. They were used to humidity. That fire picked up in some plantations where there were light, flashy fuels, prime for movement. And when you take a deep breath, or even a half breath of highly dense, dark smoke from a wildland fire, especially when it's mixed in with structure, compounds, mattresses, anything that could be burning in a house, it will drop you to your knees like you couldn't believe. I've had it happen once to me. An intense migraine pain hit the front of my head, and it was intense. And if you're not used to breathing smoke, a lot of smoke, it chokes you, it stops you, it paralyzes you. And that is what happened. This wasn't a government conspiracy. And I want to tell you right now, please, nobody blame the firefighters. Trust me, I know what it's like to try. I know what it's like to lose firefighters on a fire we're on. And especially when it's in the mop-up phase. There are certain conspiracies out there that were fed to you by people that want to make a fool of you. And they made them sound so sweet and so perfect, and they brought some photo evidence. But in a day and age where we can fake just about anything, why couldn't they have faked that? Think about it. It's so that you run crazy over there when the real conspiracy, the real bad stuff's happening right in front of you. And the sad thing is most people don't believe it, like an economic collapse, because they go, hey, it's not going to happen to me. But right now on the news, all over the world, these elitists are saying you're going to eat bugs and like it. You're not going to have your own vehicle pretty soon. You're going to like it. You're not even going to own your own home by sometime in the 2030s, and you're going to love it. They're making you slaves right now. And everyone's focusing in on something they probably don't have any business being focused in on. Your own house has caught in fire, your economic house. The question is, what are you going to do to put it out? What are you going to do to even recognize that there is a fire there? What are you going to do to not only put it out, but then go help your neighbor? Because this isn't just a single event. This isn't just a city. This isn't even just a nation. The entire world right now is economically burning. Inflation is everywhere. We're moving into hyperinflation. And I'm telling you what, if you think you're going to get out of this unscathed, no one will get out of this unscathed. And I'll tell you this, he who loses the least will win. And I want to see you win. But you can't win until you start coming to facts with some serious truth. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please put it down in the comments. I'll read your comments. Thank you so much to all the firefighters and police officers that will chime in. And I'm sure there are a lot of servicemen and women too that understand exactly what I'm talking about because they've seen rough times and they know what it's like when there's panic. It's undescribable. Hope you have a great day. The Economic Ninja is out.